Jagrata, Jai Masters. There are so many techniques on the spiritual path. All are good. If they help you, they're good. If you use them, they're good. What's very important and really makes the difference in one's spiritual growth is at least once in your life understanding what's going on. Understanding the foundation of spirituality. Very few people come to realize, but it is the truth, that the world outside of you and the world inside of you are independent. They have nothing to do with each other. The world outside is made of atoms. It's made of form. The world inside is etheric. It's just energy. The world outside behaves in accordance to the laws of science, laws of physics, laws of chemistry, laws of meteorology. Laws determine how things happen outside. The interaction of form, matter, and energy. And there are explanations for the laws behind why it behaves the way it does, why it unfolds the way it does. Inside is not like that. Inside is independent of the outside. Inside there are thoughts. They're your thoughts. Outside, if we look at a glass, we all see the same glass. If we pour it over, we watch the water go out. It goes out at 32 feet per second, the same for all of us. Inside, what you see is totally different than what I see. You create your own thoughts. Inside is a world of your own making. It has nothing to do with me or what outside or anything. It has to do with the fact that you have the ability to create thoughts inside. Therefore, there are thoughts inside. You have the ability to create emotions inside. Therefore, there are emotions inside. It's a world in and of itself. Well, if they are so independent, why are they so affected by each other? Good question. You did it. If somebody walks in this room and you don't know him, you never saw him before, and you're enjoying yourself, meditating, sitting inside, they walk in and they sit down and they don't affect your inside at all. Nothing happens inside of you. The person sitting next to you, that's their ex. And they purposely, the person sitting next to you was coming out of the temple to get away from them, and now they showed up. I doubt that what has happened outside will not affect that person inside, the other person. There are all kinds of stuff will start going on inside themselves. What does that teach you? That you're doing it. You have tied together the outside and the inside. They're not tied together. They're independent, completely separate. But what you did, you who live in there, you have something going with that particular person outside. And because inside you have something going about them, you built up thought patterns and emotion patterns and history, all kinds of stuff you built inside yourself about that person. Now when that person shows up, it doesn't make any sense when I say the outside and the inside are independent. They don't feel independent at all. That thing outside caused bananas to go on inside. It got weird in there. It can get positively weird. It can get negatively weird. It just basically, the outside makes the inside change. Maybe you've noticed that. You are doing that. It is not natural. It is something you are doing. There are people who get over somebody else. What does that mean? It means they stopped doing something inside about that person outside. So years later, the person comes in, they're pretty much just like any other person. There's the person I used to be married to. You'd like to meet him, I'll introduce you. Nothing goes on inside. Nothing weird. Just like any other person. Because you are holding things inside yourself, what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what you don't want, you build this up inside. That's what you chose to do with your thoughts and your emotions. You chose to make them be about the outside. If you didn't do that, they are independent. You could do whatever you want with your thoughts. There are great thinkers like Einstein and others whose thoughts were not affected by the outside. It was thought in and of itself. He would go into outer space and there'd be elevators falling through space, at the speed of light with no gravity. He's not experiencing that outside. He is creating his own environment inside. It is abstract from what is coming in from the senses. It doesn't mean you don't experience what's coming from the senses. There's many different levels of this. One level is what is coming in through the senses, comes in through the senses and goes away. Why? If it goes away outside, it goes away inside. If you're seeing it, of course you see it. It's coming in through your senses. Therefore, it's something that you in there, the indwelling being, you see it. When it is no longer happening outside, I don't understand why it's still inside. It's not there. But that's not how you live, is it? If something happens outside that disturbs you, you keep it inside. You don't have to do that. There's no law. It was bad enough that it was disturbing when it happened. Why do you want to keep the disturbance inside of you when it's no longer happening? It doesn't even make any sense, does it? But you do that, don't you? And don't you think it stays in there by itself. It does not stay in there by itself. Nothing stays in there by itself. Nothing. And the proof is, if it is in there, it doesn't sit quietly. It tries to come back up, doesn't it? Comes back up in your dreams. Something reminds you of it. A sound makes it all come back up. A smell can make your whole childhood come back up inside of you. It doesn't stay in there. It tries to leave. It tries to come up. And you push it back down. That's the part I want to prove to you. If something comes up that disturbs you, you push it away. You don't want it. Wait a minute. No. Stop what you're saying. Let me get myself together here. What do you mean by get yourself together? Push that stuff back down there where it belongs. I don't want it in my face. I didn't want it in my face when it happened, and I didn't want it in my face when it came up, and no. All right? So that act that seems so natural to you is proof of what I'm saying. You are keeping it in there. You are purposely, willfully, and wantonly storing inside yourself something about the outside that is no longer happening. So it's not the outside anymore. It's something you're doing inside yourself. If you hold these things inside of you, I told you the outside is made of form and energy and the physical world. The inside is not made of that. It's made of thoughts that are completely etheric. So far they haven't designed, thank God, they haven't designed machines yet that can read your thoughts. Someday maybe they will. I hope I'm gone. Okay? But net result is you have a private territory in there of thoughts and emotions. They are yours. They are nobody else's. The only reason they are affected by the outside, other than when they're happening, you have senses. The world comes in through your senses. Yes, you experience it. I'm not questioning that at all. That's called a direct experience, what I call a primary experience. So something could be coming in that's not pleasant. Yes, it doesn't feel pleasant. Something comes in that feels pleasant. Yes, it feels pleasant. When it ceases to be coming in through your senses, it is no longer there. Therefore, it should not feel pleasant or not pleasant. You should be here now. There should be the next experience that's happening, and you're experiencing that. But that's not what happens, is it? What happens is these past experiences that you've had created thoughts while they were happening, and you ended up storing those thoughts, keeping them inside of you. You made thoughts about the experience. Now you think about your mother. You think about the time you got in a car accident. You think about the husband who left you. You think about the argument you had. You think about the time you got sick. You're not sick. There's no argument. There's nothing going on. But there is to you. It is still going on inside of you. Therefore, the unpleasantness of the experience, that was a momentary thing for whatever long it lasted. Didn't last forever. It lasted for a period of time. The period of time where it was unpleasant, yes, it was unpleasant. I'm not questioning that. You were in there experiencing something that's unpleasant. Now you're experiencing the same unpleasantry when it's not happening. Why? Because you stored it inside of a thought, didn't you? That's what thoughts are. They can capture and hold things inside. I told you, your thoughts are your own. So you can remember that car accident and relive it every day of your life, can't you? You can relive what it was like those last few months before the divorce, all the arguments and how terrible that was. You're welcome to do that. Why? Because I told you it is your world in there. They are your thoughts and your emotions. But look what you chose to do with them. It doesn't even make sense. You chose to store inside. I want you to think of your thoughts as a suitcase, a trunk that you can store things in. The event went away, didn't it? Right? The snake's no longer there. The argument's no longer happening. But you managed to keep it somewhere in the universe. Where? Inside of a thought. How you like that? It's like a little package, a little suitcase that you get to store things in. Well, you check out what you've been storing because you store every single bad thing that ever happened to you. And I can explain to you why later, but you did that. It doesn't happen by itself. It is not natural. Because you didn't want to experience it, you tried to stop the experience from getting all the way in. That's literally, I watch it all the time. The experience comes in, you're in here, you don't want it touching you, do you? So you use your will to push it away. When you use your will to push it away, you have created a storage package of it inside of you in the form of thoughts and emotions. And they are now there, and they will come back up, and they will haunt you for the rest of your life. So the outside is independent of the inside. You didn't have to do that, but you did do that. So now it doesn't seem like it's independent. When I start a talk, I sit there and say the outside is completely independent of the inside, I get this dumbfounded look. I understand it doesn't make sense because everybody doesn't live that way. Almost nobody lives that way. They make the outside inside because they stored it in there. And they didn't just store everything. You didn't store all the white lines you drove by. You didn't store every tree you ever saw. You didn't store every car that drove by you. If you're walking down the streets of New York, you're not storing all the people. But somebody else at you, you're storing that. Somebody wears the same dress as you did and you thought you were special to the party for your prom. That's still in there since you were 12 or 14. You store the bad experiences inside of these packages called thoughts and emotions, and then you push them away from you because you don't want to experience them. I just have a very simple question. If you don't want to experience them, don't store them. You are perfectly capable of not doing this. It doesn't make sense to eat something that makes you sick. You know it made you sick, and you don't want to get sick again. So you ask the chef to package up enough for a lifetime to take it home and every day open up and taste a little so you remember how bad it was so you know you don't want to get sick again. That is what you're doing with your bad experiences. Instead of letting them pass and be finished and be over, yes, I had a bad experience. When? Yesterday, a year ago, 50 years ago, who cares, right? We want to talk about it? Here, this is what happens here. If you're an unhealthy person, you're talking to somebody, do you want to talk about it? Yeah, can I talk about it? I don't talk, I've never told anybody this. I want to talk about it. Of course you do, because you got that junk stored inside of you. It's eating you up. It's a bad experience. Why wouldn't you want to release it? However, I am telling you, that does not get rid of it in that person. It's not gone. They were not comfortable with it, so they stored it. Now they have trouble experiencing it because they're not comfortable with it. Well, of course not. Now because they're not comfortable with it and they suppress it, it gets worse. So by talking about it, it releases some of the built-up energy that's pent up inside. So that's very much like I have a tea kettle sitting on a stove. The stove is on. The tea kettle wants to whistle. The old ones do that, by the way. And I don't want it to because I'm afraid of the noise. I'm embarrassed, so I stick my finger over it. And everything's really getting very, very hot. And all of a sudden somebody comes and says, I'll help you. You can take your finger off. When I'm here, if anything goes wrong, I'll help you. You don't have to put your finger on. You take your finger off. Oh, my God, it feels so much better, all right? When they leave, you put your finger back on. And it builds right back up. It doesn't do anything. It just temporarily has a sense of release. The problem is that you have to come all the way back to the root. The Buddhists talk about work at things at the root. The root is not that the event happened. Events happen. I'm giving you that. I'm not arguing with you. Events happen that are not so pleasant when they come in. The world is full of changes and full of events and full of experiences. Some of them, when they come in, feel pleasant. Some of them don't feel pleasant. Fine. That's yin and yang. That's the nature of things. So it comes in. The root is that when it comes in and it stops coming in, it's over. It's over. You set up a party for your wedding or for your birthday. You took a risk and said, we're going to have it outside. It hasn't rained for weeks. And all of a sudden, it's pouring rain. It's a very disappointing experience, right? You did your best you could. Okay, fine. The next day, it's sunny out. How are you doing inside? You're still rainy. I don't understand. It's not raining outside. Why is it still raining inside? Because you stored, I want you to see it as a package. You stored the package of the bad experience inside these thoughts and emotions that I told you have the right to create, and for some reason, you decided to store all the bad ones. And so now you have stored in there all these thoughts and emotions. So therefore, if I come to you and say the inside world is independent of the outside, it doesn't make sense to you. You say, no, it isn't. Every single thing somebody says causes my inside to change. Every time I hear thunder, I get all scared because of the bad experience I had on my wedding day or birthday. You understand that? Because you stored the stuff in there, you're not clean inside. You're full of stuff. And so now when the world unfolds, it comes in. It should just come in and pass through. It doesn't. It comes in and hits the past stuff. And so all of a sudden you're a reaction machine. And your whole inside environment is not under your control anymore. It's under the control of the experience that gets stimulated that you stored inside. That's the clearest I can explain to you why your thoughts and emotions are the way they are. Because you did it. You're the only one in there. Every single thought and every single emotion you did. Inside, it is 100% your inner environment. There is nobody else in there. Your parents are not in there. My parents did it. No, they didn't. They're not in there. My first boyfriend, he dumped me. And no, he's not dumping you anymore. He's not there. He can't do it. There's nobody else in there but you. They're your thoughts and your emotions. Therefore, they are however you want them to be. I'm telling you the truth. It's just that nobody told you that before, and you didn't catch on that if you wanted to be nice in there, just make it nice in there. And so the only way you know how to make it nice in there is to control the outside world so it doesn't hit the bad stuff in there. You try to think what needs to happen outside so that when it comes in, I feel good inside. And what needs to not happen outside so when it comes in, I don't feel bad inside. And you end up spending your entire life, every minute of it, every thought, trying to manipulate people, places, and things so that that happens, so that they unfold in a way that makes you feel good inside, and they don't unfold in a way that makes you feel bad inside. And it sounds totally rational because you're not working at the root. You've already built all this stuff inside. Now you have no control over your inside. All of a sudden your girlfriend or boyfriend or mother or father or kid or boss controls your inside. That's what I say to people when they want to grow spiritually, right? Well, so-and-so yelled at me. Well, how much does so-and-so meditate? Oh, she never meditated a day in her life. How much do you meditate? Put aside at least an hour a day. Well, then you're supposed to be more conscious than her. So how can you let somebody less conscious than you decide how you feel? So if all of a sudden you go into a work environment or a relationship, whatever it is, and somebody's doing something pretty weird, it is not supposed to be bothering you. It is something they're doing. The trouble is it hits your stuff. That's what's happening. The outside world moves, every bit of it. If it moves the slightest bit, it hits your stuff. Because that's how much stuff you got in there. So all of a sudden, it's always disturbed inside unless you manage to get something exactly right. And all of a sudden, somebody talks to you the way you want to be talked to or gives you something you want to get. Then all of a sudden, it feels a little bit better. And then you try to hold on to that and control it. If you don't pay attention, that's what your entire life's going to be like. Every bit of it. You will never be at peace. You will never find absolute unconditional love, because it is conditional upon the outside world and how it hits the stuff you stored inside. The only way that true spirituality takes place, are you ready? I'll say it, is when you've gotten rid of that stuff in there. That's what the Buddhists mean by the empty bell. That's why Buddhists capitalize the V in void. It's empty in there. Doesn't mean you're stupid. You're experiencing what's happening and you're interacting with it. You're fully present. You still learned what you learned. You experienced it. It became part of you. There's a difference between building a thought and storing it in a thought so it bothers you and letting it come all the way in and touch your being so it becomes part of you. You know it by heart. You have to think about it. If it touches a stove, you don't need to build a thought pattern inside to be afraid of stoves. The fact that you touch a stove and it burns you becomes something you now know. It became part of you. You will not be touching hot stoves again. There's knowledge and wisdom left, but there's no neurosis left. The neurosis comes when you store it inside of your mind. Somebody watches a TV show and there's a plane accident. They'll never fly again. People do that. There's nothing wrong with watching TV. There's nothing wrong with seeing that there was a plane accident. And there's nothing wrong with feeling bad about it. Good. Now you learned something. But if you build a thought in there, now the minute somebody says you want to go see your grandkids, yeah, well, they live in California. How will I get there? You have to fly. No. You know people like that? You bet you do. All right? That's because they built thought patterns out of their problems. So the key of all of spirituality is to not do that. You're in here. They're your thoughts and your emotions. Your thoughts and your emotions are not patterned after the things that disturbed you. Otherwise, it's going to, I don't know, let me ask you a question. If something disturbs you and you store it inside, what's the inside going to be like? Disturbed. That's why we're disturbed, because we have stored disturbing things inside of ourselves. And you know it. You talk about it, it comes back up, you work with it. Until you stop doing that, your life's going to be a struggle. Your life's going to be, I got to get her to be the way I want, and got to get this, I got to get a house, I got to get everything the way I think it needs to be so that it will fit inside of me. Everything should fit inside of you. There's a world unfolding. It's big. It's a whole universe. You're just experiencing a moment of it. It should fit inside of you. There should be no problem. Doesn't mean it feels good or bad. It will feel what it feels. And then it moves on, and you have all these different experiences. So the key to spiritual growth is becoming empty. The key to spiritual growth is ceasing to use your thought. This is the suitcase. I never called it before. It's a suitcase where you stored something. That's what a thought is. Right? You're given the ability to create those things and make it inside of you. And emotions are the same thing. Thought is mental, emotion is feeling, all right, heart. So if you've stored these things, you're not going to be happy. You're not. And if then you look outside to find somebody that'll make you happy, or find a job that'll make you happy, or find a house that'll make you happy, whoo, did you go the wrong way? What you need to do is stop storing the stuff inside and let go of the stuff you've already stored. So the main thing I want to talk about tonight is your experience in life is not what's happening to you outside. It's how what's happening to you outside makes you feel inside. It's all you care about. I'm not going to blame you, and don't feel embarrassed. All you care about is how you feel inside. If you get into the presence of somebody and they make you feel love inside, guess what you say? I love you. What you should say is, God, you make me feel love inside. Thank you. Right? But you don't. You say, I love you. Really? That's the biggest lie you ever told. Why? Because if the next time you saw them, they made you feel terrible inside, really disturbed inside, I don't think you'd say, I love you. You care about what it makes you feel. If you walk up to you go into a museum, art museum, you walk up to a painting, it just melts you. I don't know why, it just melts you. It makes you melt. Art can do that, can't it? Music can do that. Beethoven can do that. When that happens, you say, oh, I love that painting. I love that music. Right? It's not the truth. If you walked in the presence of it, if somebody told you, so-and-so, that artist, was a Nazi concentration camp guy before he hid off in Argentina, next time you went over there and saw that painting, it would not make you feel nice. It would make you feel yucky, make you feel disgusting, right? You wouldn't say, I like it. Have you ever changed your mind about whether you like something or not? All right, it changed because how you felt inside about it changed. All right, and again, I use an extreme example with the Nazi thing. You sit there and find out, oh, look at that table. Oh, it's made out of natural wood. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, they cut down illegal trees in the rainforest, and that's a big problem they're having. And all of a sudden, not such a nice table, is it? All you have to do is put one more thought in that head, right? I'm telling you. You don't care about the outside. You care about the inside because that's where you live. And that's not even wrong. I don't want that to sound selfish, or I'm not scolding you, right? That's what you care about. Why? Because that's where you live. If it's not nice in there, it ain't going to be nice outside. Because the outside has to come in, and you have to experience it inside. So basically, if something makes you feel good inside, you want to keep it. You want to hold it. You want, etc. You say you love it, you like it. If something makes you feel bad, you don't have anything to do with it. So all of a sudden, your life is being run by how the outside makes your inside feel. That determines where you live and who you hang out with and who are your friends. The people that are in their presence, I feel pretty good inside. Who are your enemies? The people in their presence, I don't want to ever see them again. I feel really terrible inside. Every single thing about your life is determined by that. You're not choosing your friends. You're not choosing who to marry. You're not choosing any of these things. The relationship between the outside and how it makes the inside feel is doing it. Because you're not okay in there and you're trying to be okay. All right. Spirituality is about liberation. It's about freeing yourself from this entire mess. And the mess is not caused by what's happening outside. This mess is caused because you have stored the outside in your thoughts and your emotions. And therefore, it comes in and it hits your stuff. And it's very difficult to live with. All right? What's the alternative? The alternative is to listen to this talk over and over again and realize this is my world in here. If I have nice thoughts, I feel good. If I have bad thoughts, I feel bad. If I have nice emotions, I'm having a good day. If I have bad emotion, I'm having a really bad day. Okay, good. I understand that. I agree with that, right? Now the question is, what determines your thoughts and your emotions? Because the answer should be, I do. Why? They're mine. And then all of a sudden, you catch on that you've been asleep at the wheel. They're your thoughts and your emotions. And you let everybody else determine what your thoughts and emotions are going to be, didn't you? You let your ex-husband decide what your mind's going to be like for the rest of your life, or your parents, or this or that. That's crazy. So what you do is you start, Master called it, regain your kingdom. It's your kingdom in there. You regain it. How do you regain it? I've given you 1,000 hints along the way. I want to be very specific now, right? Do you have the ability to create a thought about Saturn? Can you see Saturn? Can you float in dark, empty space and see this beautiful ring planet, right? How does that make you feel? Right? If you really did it, if you contemplated Saturn, meditation, whatever you want, if you did that, you would feel very peaceful. You would feel a certain sense of beauty. It's like a diamond in the sky, this beautiful thing, right? It's just ringed. It's just gorgeous. I've gotten to see it through telescopes and binoculars. We do it out here, but you can go on the web, and you can see Hubble's pictures of the planets. You can see this stuff, right? And you'll see that it has this effect on you of freeing you. It has an effect on you of, in a sense, saying, what are you worried about? It's just, you're sitting on a planet spinning in the middle of nowheres, all right? And so, who says that you don't have the right to periodically think about Saturn? Or periodically think about the Andromeda Galaxy? That's what my background page is on my phone. It's the Andromeda Galaxy. Right? Every time I open my phone, there's Andromeda. She's beautiful. When you look at that, it's different than looking at your thoughts that make you sick. It doesn't make you sick. It doesn't make you uptight. It doesn't bring back bad things because there's nothing that you had experiences with that relate to the Andromeda Galaxy. All right? There's just this beautiful galaxy floating in outer space. Who says that you don't have the right to think about that instead of thinking about what your ex-husband did 10 years ago? Who said you don't have that right? You may not be able to do it right now. Why? Because you stored this powder keg of stuff inside. It was full of emotions. And so now you don't know what to do with it. It keeps coming back up. You have will. You have the right to put your consciousness anywhere you want. So you are welcome to put it on Saturn, galaxies. They are your thoughts. I am encouraging you to say, if I think bad thoughts, I feel bad. If I think scary thoughts, I get scared. If I think thoughts that people don't like me, I feel insecure. Then why are you doing that? You think that by thinking them, you'll solve them? I'm going to sit there and think about how rattlesnakes might bite me. And I'm going to think about them when I'm walking through the woods. I'm going to think every sound, everything makes me scared of the rattlesnake. That somehow by doing that, I'm safer. No, but somehow by doing that, you're not paying attention to where you're walking. You're paying attention to your thoughts instead. You've come out of the moment, and you're creating a terrible situation for yourself. Did you enjoy your walk through the woods? The answer is no. Of course, because I didn't walk through the woods. I kept stepping on rattlesnakes in my head. There is no benefit to doing this. None. To be sitting there pondering thoughts that are making you feel bad, there is no benefit. None. So don't do it. Wow. You thought you had to solve the problem so your mind would stop doing it. It's your mind. You don't have to tolerate that it makes up its own thoughts. You can have whatever you want going on in there. Right now, I want you to boat. I want a boat in there. Do you see a boat? Bigger. Bigger. Queen Mary. Did it make a boat? Okay. They are your thoughts. Do whatever you want with them. It's your car. Drive where you want to go. Well, what if I take my hands off the wheel? I don't even want to talk about it. Well, it will go somewhere, won't it? Yeah, but you don't want to go with it. All right? It is the same thing with your mind. You don't want your mind just make up its own thoughts. Why? Because you stored all this garbage in there. It'll think about bad things. By the time this person hurt me, it'll think about this happened and that. What if I fail my test? I don't want to take the test. Oh my God. If I fail it, I'll be so embarrassed. Remember the one I failed when I was little? That was such, what are you doing having thoughts like that? Can you imagine how much nicer it would be not to have thoughts like that? That's like saying to someone who took their hands off the wheel and the car went wherever the road went and it drove off and it kept getting in accidents. Did you know you can keep it on the road? You are supposed to drive in there. It is your mind. They are your emotions. The problem is you have not learned to do this. The only thing you've learned to do, and it just kind of happens by default, is to store bad things inside of you and make all your thoughts be negative. All right? So what do? First, you quietly see. I told you, get the foundation of what's going on. Do you see what's going on? Do you see you've done that? All right? Then that's why the mind keeps spewing up all these negative things, because you made thoughts out of these negative things and they keep coming back up. And so you take a look at what you've been doing with your mind and you decide your first thing is your intention. Buddhist, very Buddhist talk, right? That talks about working at the root, then it talks about intention. Your intention is to once and for all, you're in charge of your mind. Not just your mind, your whole inner environment. This is my inner environment. I want it to be nice. Well, what if something's happening outside that's not nice? If something is going on outside that's not nice, I'm sorry, you have to deal with it. Things happen outside that are not nice and are not fun to deal with. Would you rather have something outside that's not nice and something that's inside that's not nice? So you got two problems. Or would you like to have something outside that's not nice, but inside it's sunny, it's a nice day, having a good time dealing with what's not nice out there? Somebody stole my car. They didn't, but somebody stole my car. All right? Somebody stole my car. All right, what are you going to do? I go to the police? I don't know. I've never dealt with a stolen car before. I guess I get to find out. This is going to be interesting. I guess I can't go to work. Why? Because I got to deal with a stolen car. Plus, I don't have a car. Right? So you call up the boss and wonder what the boss is going to say. We say, hey, someone stole my car. I can't get to work. Probably says, okay, take care of it. Let me know when you straighten it out. When you get to go to the police and do this and do that and all these different experiences, what's going to happen? Will they find it? Who knows? It's a mystery. Oh, now we get to have a mystery show. Right? Why are you not having fun? If you're okay inside, now you answer me, can you be okay inside when someone stole your car? Of course you can. You can be any way you want inside. Right? Would you rather get all depressed and freaked out and why did they steal my car? Well, probably because that karma, that thing I did 2 years ago, my God, I knew it would come back. What are you doing? You're making yourself miserable. So it is better to sit there and say, my responsibility, my primary responsibility is to create a nice environment inside. That's not so bad. It's not a bad mission, is it? Right? That's what you want anyways, to become okay inside. And you're not going to become okay inside by making the outside match your stuff. You have stuff in there, don't you? Right? And the stuff in there gets hit. If the only way you can be okay inside is conditionally, by controlling and manipulating people, places, and things around you to match what's going on inside of you, so it hits right and not wrong, you're never going to be okay. You worry all the time. So your job, this is your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to be okay inside. Whoa, that's a good mission. Your mission is to keep the car on the road and enjoy your journey. I didn't tell you where you're going. That's up to you, all right? But the car's on the road and you're enjoying the drive. That's what's supposed to happen as you go through your life. So the question becomes, how do I do that? First, I am sitting here telling you, you're capable of doing this. I don't care what you've ever done before. I don't care what's ever happened to you. I don't care how many times you tried meditation, you tried this, you tried that. Nothing works for you. You are capable of becoming beautiful inside. You are capable of becoming clean inside. You're capable of being what I call self-effulgent. That all of the joy and the love and the inspiration and the passion is naturally inside of you. You do not need anything, and nothing can take it away. Nothing can take it away. That's where I want you. But what if my husband leaves me? What I want is you were okay inside before you met your husband, and he was very attractive to you. Why? Because he doesn't know anybody else that's okay. So you've got all this light shining out of your eyes and all over the place. Everybody's attracted to you because you're beautiful, period. Not what your physical structure looks like, what's emanating off of you and the pleasantness of being around you. You're always up, you're cheerful, you're giving, right? Fine. And so you had this relationship. What relationship? I'm fine and I'm sharing it with you. You don't want to share it anymore? Fine. Of course it'll be a little harder than that. It'll leave some stuff, but then leave the stuff. I told you, it feels weird for a while, then it stops. But you don't store it. You don't hate him. How do you not like somebody because they didn't want you to give what you have to them? He can't take anything from you because you never took anything from him. You won't feel, oh my God, he stole my life. I gave him the best years of my life. No, you feel like we had a beautiful, loving relationship, and then he found somebody else. He left, whatever it is. It didn't affect my love. How'd you like to be that strong? It didn't affect what I'm feeling. I'm still filled with love because it had nothing to do with him. It had nothing to do with the job. It had nothing to do with anything. That is what it means to be okay inside. And that is what the word liberation means. You are free of all that garbage in there. First, I'm telling you, you're capable of it. Every one of you are capable of it. That's all there is to it. You're capable of it. Is it easy? I think it's easier than keeping the stuff inside and trying to be okay. I think it's 1 billion times easier, to tell you the truth, than keeping all that garbage inside and trying to make it so the world doesn't hit it, so that everything happens in a way that makes you feel better. That sounds really hard to me, to have all that garbage in there and then try to be okay. So however hard it is to get all the garbage out, it works. So it's better than keeping it in and trying to be okay. Now, how do you get rid of it? You get rid of it. What do you mean? I teach you this all the time. You start by not putting any more in. Just start with the tiniest little things. The weather, how somebody's driving in front of you, just little things that bother you. Little personality traits of somebody. Things that the only reason they bother you is because of you. The rain cannot bother you unless you don't like it. You understand that? Just one of your litmus tests is this. Could somebody else be enjoying what's bothering me? That's what I mean by the low-hanging fruit. I'm serious. Could somebody else be okay with what I'm not okay with? It's raining, and I wanted to go for a walk, and I can't, so I don't feel good about it. Could the farmer feel good about it if it hasn't rained for a few days and his corn just got planted? Because if somebody else can feel good about what's making you feel bad, it means it's not the thing that's doing it. It's your relationship to the thing that's making you feel bad. You're making yourself feel bad about it. Now, if some big rattlesnake comes in there and starts rattling around in front of you, pretty much you can say that's not what Mickey was talking about. That's not comfortable. So all I ask you to do with that is feel bad until it's gone. And when it's gone, don't feel bad anymore. All right? So this is how you work with yourself. So you start with what the low-hanging fruit is. What I mean by low-hanging fruit means the event that is happening is bothering you because of you. You decided you didn't want it to rain. You decided, I don't like people that don't put the caps back on the toothpaste. You've decided that all these rules. You've decided, I don't want to talk about everything. You just decided all these things, and because you decided them, they bother you. What if you decided the opposite? When they leave the cap off the toothpaste, just think about how much effort he saved you. You don't have to unscrew the cap next time. His toothpaste is ready to use. You're welcome to think anything you want. So another way litmus test is this. If all you have to do is change your mind about something and it doesn't bother you anymore, that's a big clue. Now, the rattlesnake is other than that. There are events that happen outside that no matter how you change your mind, they make it a little better, but there's still a problem you got to deal with. But I'm telling you, the vast majority of things you bother yourself about, I mean the vast majority, it's really in the 90s. I've watched for a long time. It's in the 90% of what bothers you all day is you. You're thinking about what could go wrong. You think about what happened before. Doesn't count, doesn't count, doesn't count. Here's this. If you're being bothered by something that happened before, that's you. Why? Because it's not happening anymore. If you're being bothered about worrying that something might go wrong in the future, that's you. You might as well think it could go right. Then it feels good. I'm trying to show you your thoughts are determining the quality of your life. So you start with the low-hanging fruit that basically says, there is no reason for that I'm bothering myself about this. Then stop. How? Use affirmation. I love the rain. I love the rain. Oh my God, look, it's raining. I love it. I told you how I do what I do with the rain. Right? I live on a planet that water falls out of the sky. Here, tell on Venus, hydrochloric acid falls out of the sky. I'll take Earth. Have fun with your thoughts. Use them. Drive. Put your hands on the darn wheel and drive so that it's pleasant in there. Make it pleasant in there. Do not leave it to all these negative habitual patterns that your mind is doing. If you will do that with the small things, just make it fun. Make it fun. I tell you all the time, when it's hot out, if it looks like, before it even says anything, it looks like it's going to complain about the heat, I literally make it think about there's a star out there. Don't call it the sun anymore. It's a star. And you're close enough to a star that it's burning you. Whoa, stars are neat things, aren't they? You go out at night, they twinkle. This one's during the day, it twinkles. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that neat that you're that close to a star? Now all of a sudden you're enjoying it. It's a neat experience, and all you did was change your mind. Why will you not do this? And the answer is because you're so lost in your mind that you forget to do it. People tell me that all the time. When I hear your talk, it's so inspiring. I'm ready to do it. Then I go out and I never do it. I forget to do it. Of course you do. Because you're caught up in your thoughts. You're caught up in your worries. You're caught up in your anxieties. And somehow you think you need to do something about that. You do need to do something about it. This is what you need to do about it. You need to raise yourself. You need to raise the vision of your consciousness to where it's pointing at higher thoughts, higher concepts, higher views. And then the others will just fall away. There's no reason to complain about why it's hot. If you're comfortable with it and it reminds you that it's a beautiful star out there and you're close, who would believe they're close enough to a star to feel its heat? Wow. Then it's not going to bother you anymore. It falls away. They naturally fall off. And you keep raising yourself and raising yourself by raising what's going on inside of you. And eventually, because you raised yourself, it will feel good in there. Get this straight, how it works. It starts to feel good in there. Well, if it feels good in there, you don't need to do this anymore because it feels good in there. And all of a sudden, it becomes quieter in there. Why? Because the negative stuff's not happening. Because the negative stuff's not happening, you don't have to do the positive stuff. And so they neutralize each other. And all of a sudden, you're walking around and you're just at peace. You're just comfortable. It's quiet in there. Imagine that, it being quiet in there. You're just enjoying the experience of the unfolding of life. And if all of a sudden the mind starts to react to something, you don't even what happens when you're driving your car and the road tilts to the left a little bit? You don't even think about it, do you? You just turn that wheel a little bit to the right. You do pretty well staying on the road, don't you? You even stay within one lane. It's pretty impressive. Can you do that with your thoughts? Can you do that with your mind? So now it becomes somewhat quiet and nice in there, and then something happens, the mind remembers something bad, and you just immediately steer a little bit. You steer a little bit. Use affirmation, put your mind elsewhere, use mantra, right? Just say something in there that puts your consciousness not on the negative patterns. And I'm telling you, over time, you become liberated. That's the word we use. You become free of yourself. And that sounds nice enough, but it doesn't even come close to what actually happens. Because all this energy that used to be used up struggling with your thoughts and the bad feelings that the thoughts created and then trying to feel okay anyways and then manipulating all that's Shakti, we'll call it Chi. You're using a lot of energy to do that. Do you understand that? Not to mention how much energy you're using to suppress your thoughts. All this stuff, the garbage you collected from before, you don't want to feel it, so you push it away. How much energy does that take? So you have no idea how powerful you are. This is where great beings get power. So all of a sudden, all that energy that used to do all that stuff is liberated. It's free. You don't have to do it anymore because you're not fighting that battle anymore. And I'm telling you, literally, you feel it. You will know exactly what I'm talking about. All of a sudden, these rushes of powerful energy start welling up inside of you, rising up inside of you. And you feel all your centers open, and there's this power. All the power that was wasted on all this low garbage, right? Look how much better you feel when you stopped eating the stuff that made you sick to remind yourself how sick you got. You feel a lot better, don't you? All of a sudden, you can work a full week, and whoever thought of such a thing, right? Wait till you see how good you feel when you stop having to maintain the garbage you've stored inside of you. And so this becomes your spiritual path. What mantra you use, what particular technique you use, whether you get inspired like I do by looking into outer space, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, work on yourself, work on yourself, work on yourself. Learn to steer. Do not let bad past experiences get stored inside of you. It makes no sense. Yes, you experience them when they're happening. Learn how to let them go. And I've taught, and I'm going to stop, but I've taught you the highest technique. I gave you all these other techniques because you convinced me you can't do the highest yet. The highest technique is to relax. The highest technique is you in there who's struggling with all this stuff in there and then struggling outside. Just relax. Oh, how can I relax? I got to fight this battle. No, you don't. Let's say your left hand fighting your right. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Just relax. Relax. Some people say, well, what do I do if something bothers me? Every single time, the answer is relax. You in there, relax and lean away from the part that's causing a problem. Just relax and release. Relax and release. You're going to find out that everything can pass through. It all can pass through. And when it's passing through without you touching it, what's left is you. And you're very beautiful and very high. So I've told you, it can get very high in there. It's beyond anything you can even imagine. Just waves of power and joy and be there all the time. You can be dead tired and all of a sudden you need to do something, bam, just one breath, all the energy comes back inside of you. You are a being of power. You're a being of energy. You're not a weakling. You do not need anything from anybody or anything. It's all happening inside of you, but you've been blocking it. So that's the main things I wanted to get across today, which is your inside world and your outside world are completely independent. They seem dependent because you stored the outside inside. If you store the outside inside, all of a sudden they look like the same thing. But they're not the same thing. The inside's independent. You have the right to create a beautiful inside. I highly recommend it. Do not expect anybody to help you. Don't wait until you find the right girl or the right job or enough money in the bank or anything like that. Just create a nice environment inside. You have the right to live however you want inside. Then I gave you some clues. Watch your thoughts. And that's what meditation's for. So you become conscious enough to where you don't get lost in the thoughts. You watch them and then do something about it. What? Steer, relax and release, replace negative with positive, anything you want to do. But please do something. We don't all drive exactly the same, right? But we all kind of stay on the road. So this is what I want to talk about. And I did share that there are thoughts such as the galaxies and the planets that you have the right, you can't experience them directly, but you can experience the effect of them by experiencing them mentally. I'm telling you, it feels the same. If I go float up to a galaxy, I don't have a problem in the world. How can anything bother you when you're looking at a galaxy? 300 billion stars. You're in a planet circling around one of them. All right? You have the right to train your mind to do this. Don't expect it to happen in one day. Just work on it constantly. And you come and tell, they write me from all over the world when they read the Untethered Soul about the change, the complete changes that happen just by realizing you have the right to relax and release. You don't have to fight with that stuff in there. All right? Work on these things. Jagrath.